everybody to the regular meeting of the zoning board, Housing Board of Appeals for March. Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Camino,
Here.
Commissioner Bath, Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
Commissioner Montani, here, Commissioner Allen, absent, Commissioner Goss,
Absent.
Commissioner Cox,
Here.
and Councilmember Rafter.
Yes, here. All right, do we have a quorum this evening?
Yes.
We're able to look for a selection of the chair and the vice chair tonight. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
Motion that Mr. Tomeno take the chair's position.
Second. Anybody from the, you want to put it all in one motion for the vice chair? No.
It's going to be difficult, you know that, right?
Okay. We have a motion for me to be, Mr. Tomeno to be the chair of the ZBA. Please call the roll. Yeah.
Okay. Vice Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Commissioner, I don't do people that are here.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montani,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox.
Aye. Motion, what's that?
Motion approved.
Motion approved, yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Lisa Montgomery as the vice chair.
Okay. Second. I'll second the motion. Please call the roll, yes, please.
Vice Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montani,
I guess aye.
Well, you can
Commissioner-
refuse.
Yeah, Commissioner Cox.
Aye. Motion passed. We will also look for a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting held on November 18th, 2021. Is there anything that needs to be added or deleted?
Okay. Passes down. I can make a motion, sorry.
Yeah.
Make a motion that the meeting minutes from November will stay as submitted.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montani,
Aye.
Commissioner Cox.
Aye. Motion passes. Yes. I look for a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting held on February 23rd, 2022.
Make the motion that the
Yeah.
meeting minutes from February stand as submitted.
Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Please call roll.
Vice Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montani,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, is there any correspondence?
No.
No, not. All right. Well, you're on deck. Please introduce yourself.
Congratulations on your promotions.
Yeah, thank you. Just introduce yourself, let us know what you'd like to do. and-
My name is David Ainsworth. I live at 18 Yeager Avenue. My hope is to add a 2-story addition to the back of my dwelling, as well as a 2-car garage.
Peter, do you have any questions for the applicant?
None.
Okay. Mr. Klaus?
No.
Do you have any
I have no
questions?
questions either.
Okay. This property, you live in this property now,
Yes.
you own the property, okay. As far as the, you're looking to demolish the garage that's there right now, and you're looking to attach the garage, okay.
Precisely.
What's the garage going to be used for?
I have a pickup truck that I'd like to store in there and restore, and at least one of the boats that we were just talking about.
Okay. All right, so there's going to be no like habitation as far as like
No,
living
no.
or anything like that in it? Okay.
No dormers, no dwelling space up top of the garage.
And this, who are you going to have engineer? Are you going to have somebody engineer this for you?
Yeah, I have James,
Jim Forbes.
Jim Forbes. Just blank on it. Thank you.
He called us about it already.
And as far as building it, who are you going to have build it?
Hawkeye Construction in Cooperstown.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions specifically about this application?
None.
All right, we have to do a seeker for this.
So, just for clarification for the board, this is a type 2 action.
Yep.
So you don't actually have to review, you don't have to do like last time we
Yeah.
went through and,
Yep.
so, just for
We
everyone's
can just basically declare it a type 2 action,
Correct.
okay? And that, after review of the CEF, we're looking at it by the board and code enforcement. I think that we can just, declare this a type 2 action. So we look for a motion to, say it.
So moved.
So moved, okay? You got a
A
second?
second.
All right, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Juliano,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montanti,
Aye.
and Commissioner Fox.
This project looks like, it has a, approval here from anybody. I don't think anybody's here looking at it anyway.
Had conversations with your neighbors, anyone, just curious?
1, 2 actually, they are thrilled. They're obviously looking forward to any improvement to the street
Mhm.
and yeah, no, they're all, so far, everyone I've talked to is very enthusiastic.
The city also sends notices to all the adjacent properties,
Yeah.
so if someone had a
Yeah, yeah.
great concern, they
Yeah, I
can
know.
correspond.
I've got a couple of neighbors in that area, and they're really excited to see something different,
Sure.
so.
Yeah, we'll make note that there was nobody here in opposition, for it, so. I would look for a motion to, approve this application, following the review that we've had of it, for an area variance and,
So for clarification, this project, what makes this kind of weird as far as the area variance is concerned is the code restricts, so if you look at the code, I included the section, single-family dwelling unit has a minimum setback of 10 feet on the side. Residential garages only have 1 foot. So I guess for clarification in the future, what is the board's opinion on, is an attached garage part of a single-family dwelling unit, or is an attached garage a garage? Because if you have an attached garage, are you considering that as a 1-foot side yard setback? Or are you saying that it needs a 10-foot setback?
well, we would want to know from the applicant, I think, what they would be using it for. I think he made mention that he's not going to be using it for any type of dwelling,
So if we ever review a property again for this exact, because we honestly don't have a lot of attached garages coming up for review. If someone were to propose a structure that had an attached garage, maybe it was even part of like the structure itself, would we require them to have a 10-foot setback? Or would we say that the garage section is its own? So let's say you have like an L, and this part of the L is a garage, and this part of the L is a house. Could that person construct their house 1 foot off the side property line because this section is a garage? Or would we say we need a 10-foot setback because it's all one structure?
I mean, if this was already a house that was in a non-conforming use, right? I mean, so That's the particular issue, that's why he's here today, I think. So we would probably ask everybody to come back in that same situation.
Okay.
I think that's what I would feel
Yeah, I'd say
comfortable
the
with.
same thing.
Well, I'm not sure I understand the distinction you're making. The distinction that I see that's significant is whether it's living space or not. So I think if only the garage portion is within the 10-foot setback, that's okay. But any living section would require the 10-foot setback.
Okay.
And I guess the other thing is that, there are fire safety issues for the garage or the house in terms of construction type of thing, but that's not our business.
Right. So what the board's position would be is that the garage portion could be within 1 foot of setback, even if it's connected to a house that's farther away.
I don't know if I'm all right with that without it, like reviewing it, I don't know.
My understanding is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a fire separation requirement between the garage and the living
Yep.
space.
No, and that's not so what I'm asking is, if a property is coming in front of the board, could I build a house that has a garage inside of it, 1 foot off the side property line? Or would we consider, are we breaking these into separate, the garage portion is separate from the house, even if it's attached?
I would say the garage portion is separate from the house,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
What you're saying is having the garage inside the house?
So I'm just coming up, so, any scenario,
Right,
are we saying one structure, let's just say we have a structure,
right.
if the portion of the garage is 1 foot off the property line, we're okay with that as long as the garage doesn't have any living space? Or are we saying that we want the entire structure to be considered within that setback?
I have to think about that. I think I can get a better answer if I have to think about that.
The issue that I recall is that garages can be closer because they don't have living space in them. That it's a fire safety issue. It's not a neighborhood character issue. And so if the garage is fire separated from the living space, then it seems to me the whole garage portion could be within 1 foot of the property line, but the living space all has to be 10 feet from the property line. As long as the garage is fire separated from the living space.
Right.
That's just my
So it's
interpretation.
a zoning issue though, in this case, like, we're saying that a garage can be within 1 foot because the code says, even if the garage is attached to a dwelling unit.
I think that's fine.
Okay. The idea is if we have more, the reason that he's here, he requires site plan review. To do a demolition, to approve an addition, you have to have site plan review. The reason he's at the zoning board is because there's questions like that about zoning, like, if we, in the future, have additional, like, applications like him, would we say, if I build an attached garage in my house, can I build it 1 foot off the property line, even if it's part of my house and not a separate structure? So would we classify that garage as part of my house? Or would we classify the garage as a separate structure that can be 1 foot off the property line?
The latter.
What is the current, the ladder?
It's 1 foot.
It's 1 foot.
If there's a detached garage, it can be 1 foot off the property line.
Right.
If it's an attached garage, are we still saying it can be 1 foot off the property line, or is it part of the house and therefore it needs to be 10 feet off the property line?
I think it needs to be 10 feet off the property line, that's what I think. But in this instance, this is, for this property, that's why I see it this way.
Right, so the question would be, does he need a variance? Does he need a variance? Is the attached garage part of the house? Or is the attached garage a separate structure that only needs 1 foot?
I don't think he needs a variance if it's just a garage that's within that.
Okay.
What about the north side of my structure, that it's probably 2 feet off of the property line there?
It's non-conforming to begin with, so.
Okay,
So,
so just,
no one would ever be able to come into the future and build a home like that.
right, right.
So,
But because the
it's already-
existing home
that's
is.
correct.
So that's just non-conforming, but in this case, if you're building a garage that's now, are we saying that that's part of the house and needs 10 feet, or are we saying it's in the garage and only needs 1 foot?
My interpretation was that he needed a variance today because that was
Okay.
a part of the house, and that being a part of the house, it needed to be 10 feet off from the side. But in this case, we're saying it's okay because of,
Yeah, I'd rather make it a blanket thing, because I think the fewer people have to come before the zoning board, the more likely people are gonna be fixing up their homes. I think coming before the zoning board is a burden that we shouldn't be requiring anybody to have to do if there's no basis, no reason for it.
I think it would be great to have a comment from the common council to see how they would like the city to be, run in that particular way. That's why I was prepared to, approve a variance today for this particular property.
Yeah.
Because I think that most of the houses, the way the code reads, is that you need to be 10 foot off of the property line. So in this instance, that's why I feel like, I understand, we're gonna, look to increase density maybe or improvement on houses, but still at this moment, I think the way the code reads, we may need to keep it this way and give them a variance. And see what the council has to say about it.
Council will
I'm
probably
okay with either
will
way.
remain silent on it unless you write a law, a code change, and then that would go to through legislative committee and then go to the council for a vote. But if it's not anything that's pressing, I don't see
Well,
that
we're working
the
on-
council.
We're working on code changes, but I mean, this was just a general question of, does he need a variance?
My opinion is yes, that he needs a variance for this particular property. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and any continuation of code changes will go through the normal process of review and approval by the council, but you can proceed with it.
So, there's also a question in my mind that, the addition, the north side of the addition is within the 10-foot setback, right?
That's what yeah, so I mean, what we're getting into is like, when you do this, so the garage is the section here that's within that 10 feet. And then this addition on the side is already, so he's gonna need a variance there, it's non-conforming, I mean, so he's essentially, he's making a house larger in an already non-conforming setback. So my question is, do you continue that non-conformancy, or do you require a variance for it?
You're talking about the addition on the 2-floor
Correct.
addition beside the garage. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So you got a non-conforming setback.
Where you're talking about if we're looking at this, the left side of the property. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
this
talking about?
right here.
Okay.
So even though it's
you-
non-conforming, he's
Yeah.
still building into the setback, so he's got kind of the same thing on this side too.
So we would require a variance for both, for
That's-
those setbacks, as the application is in
Yeah.
fact submitted.
I think we need the setback only for the north side, the living space. But I'm willing to vote for this variance if you want, on the other side, on the south side for the garage.
I think it goes along with, because we're building into it, so if somebody can make that motion, that would, following the review of that criteria, is it's necessary for an area variance, that, and, taking into consideration the application, that we, look for a motion to approve the application as it's submitted.
Okay. Make that motion for 2 side yard setbacks on the north and the south side.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. We recognize that, the garage is not gonna be livable space, that it's actually just a park car or something, okay?
So there's
So-
an area variance.
Yeah, following the review of the criteria necessary for an area variance.
Area variance,
Yeah.
and you're approving the application.
As submitted.
As submitted.
Yep.
With,
Variance for the north side setback. And what would that other side be, is the south side?
South side.
South side?
the south side.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so it's an area variance and approving the application as submitted, the north side setback and the south side. setback.
Can you change, application to site plan?
Site plan, okay.
Site
Yeah.
plan review.
Yep, site plan review, I'm sorry about that.
So are you gonna go through the vote?
Can you put contingency in there, with, the for garage space in the main garage, or do you have to?
We'll have that in there, yeah.
You also should include, with a demolition approval of the existing garage, because that also requires site plan review.
Was that in the, that was all in the application?
Yeah.
So you want to have it all listed like that? Okay.
Yeah, approving the area variance, the removal of the existing garage, and the approval of the site plan for the.
Approval of the site plan, so whenever you move it. Yeah,
Area variance to approve site plan review as submitted, north side setback and south side setback, and demo approved of the existing garage.
that's correct. So we have, you call, is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Call roll, please.
Vice Chair Tomino,
Aye.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Montanti,
Aye.
and Commissioner Fox.
Yes. Motion passed. Okay, so you have it.
Thanks very much.
You know who to see about your permits and all that.
That's me.
So will this be like the policy now of the code office to do this?
To do what?
To require a variance of, you know, if a house is within, if an existing house is within the side yard setback that's now required, but somebody wants to expand along that same,
So my intent is, as we work on the code, we clean some of these up, because we have a lot of properties that don't meet these setbacks.
yeah,
When we reviewed the code, this past summer, we found that it's something like 70 or 80% of the structures in Oneonta don't meet the existing setback requirements,
yeah.
and they also don't meet the required parcel sizes. So what we're doing is we're trying to clean some of these up so that we don't have reoccurring, where we're coming in to do area variances for buildings that have been there since 1892. Because like my house doesn't meet the side yard setback. It's not because I built it, it's because it was built in 1890 that way. So the idea is that as we clean these up, we get rid of some of these setback and lot size hangups. Because technically, like, I mean, if you're building in the setback, you're building in the setback. So we would have to bring it here.
So that's what you're gonna do from here on in, unless we change the setback requirement.
That's what we have to do, yeah. I mean, because like, I think if you're my position on this one wasn't as bad because he would have to go with one board or the other. He was gonna have to either go to planning or zoning.
Yeah,
So I intended to bring him here so we could clean up everything at
It's all
once.
done one time.
All
yeah,
done at once, so we wasn't going to,
yeah.
but ideally in the future, what we'll do is we're trying to clean these setbacks up so that we're not having to do this all the time
So you kind of get something that's more compatible
with what's
the
actually
actual
there. Yes.
stuff on the ground, so like where I live, I think it's a 10-foot side yard setback, so if everybody has an 8-foot setback,
Right,
or 90% do, you could just say, okay, from here on in, it's 8 foot for everybody.
yes. So if you go down, what is that, off Dean Street, Reynolds, is that Reynolds?
Mm-hmm.
That has a 20-foot setback.
On the
There's not a
sides.
single house on that street.
On the sides. Yeah.
No, on the front. If you can
Front.
find me a front yard setback on
Yeah.
that street that's 20 feet, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd almost give you some money.
Yeah,
So what you end up doing is you create area variances for every time someone wants to do something, build a deck,
yeah, that's
fix
great.
a porch, I mean, you're there.
If you do that, a lot of people will be able to do things
That's the idea.
that they can't do.
All right, well, thank you for
Thank you.
coming tonight.
Much appreciated.
Yep. Does anybody have anything they want to say, or we went through it all? It's pretty good. Could get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yep.
Second. So moved.